We are located in the municipality of Granada, in the village of San Matias. We have been here for approximately 30 years. We have always had or had had the traditional crops of potatoes, carrots, all these issues. With the help of all these families that surround us, we saw the need for a change looking towards the future, to not stay in these traditional things, because I think that if we do not change a little, we will change the change to us. Semi-hydroponic crops consist of planting the plants in a substrate, either completely inert or with some organic matter. It can be compost or sterilized soil. The substrate serves as an anchor for the plants, so that they can develop, and at the same time it helps them to retain liquids, to retain nutrients, to have an optimal root development. For me, it benefits me that this is going to be less work. After having this structure, it is going to be very easy to continue planting. It is going to be something that is going to have less chemicals because it is in a greenhouse. It is closed, and with the drip system it is a product that is going to come out very clean. Of course, this has been invented a long time ago. If we do not make this change to these technologies, we will be taken out of the market. At this moment the country is looking abroad, so if we are totally competitive under these conditions, we can reach these other markets that will obviously favor the whole country. Tomato is a basic product of the family basket. I believe that everywhere in the country tomato is consumed. There are regions where tomato cultivation represents the basic economy of the region. When the production curves begin to decline, growers implement methods too expensive to recover the soil. Semi-hydroponic crops allow us, or rather give us, an alternative, so that it is not so expensive to obtain those yields that we are looking for. When we arrived with this system here, the people did not believe. At this moment they are the ones who defend all this. Their children are the ones who come to learn that this is a system, to see what the people have to do, pinch themselves a little bit and somehow look for the resources, the way to get there to be able to do this. Things are not easy, but if we do not put a little bit of strength and desire, we are going to stay at the same point. Well, I have been working with tomato for about 3 to 4 years, but this is a new system. This is new for me, and I am very happy because we are seeing very good results. Per bush. In the period when the bush is harvested, it can give between 5 or 6 kilos per bush. I like the tomato very much and more in this system, because at the beginning it can generate more work with the question of the substrate, the mixing, all that. But at a more advanced time, further away, it is a work that we are saving. Because we do not have to plow, we simply harvest the tomato, we do a little work to the substrate, and we come back and plant it there. At this point is where the whole process of the semi-hydroponic tomato cultivation system begins. What is the first thing we do here? We bring the husk that comes from these rice processors or threshers. They are bales of 50 kilos. We bring them here and we put them in this machine that we designed. What is this? It is simply a process like an oven, in which with this motor reducer and this sprocket system we have the speed that we require according to the temperature or the flame of these burners. With this we make what we traditionally call batteries. We put a stick here lit and it generates a flame for more than 6 hours as long as we keep it there. After 2 or 3 hours the husk is already burnt. This husk that is in these conditions starts to burn in these other conditions, until it reaches a burnt of this order of 80 to 70%, up to 90 and a percent. What the husk does. What the husk does is only a water retention that is minimal. Yes, and an aeration of the substrate. It is mixed with soil, 50% of which is preferably virgin soil. 30% of the coconut substrate that we know well, which is also a part of water. Retention and 20% of husk. With that we have a relatively excellent humidity for the part of the support of the plant. Due to the need for tomato production in order to improve the quality of the product, we decided to improve production. For that we made a study of what substrate we could implement that would give us good yields, where the plant could adapt and give better yields than in soil. It turns out that soils are often damaged by excessive use, and by the continuous application of mineral salts. They lose the principle of ionic balance, and the production curves go down considerably. So these methods are an alternative for those who need continuous production and who always want to maintain a high yield, so that the production curve does not go down. We looked for a substrate that could give us oxygenation, fertilizer retention, cation exchange capacity, and that the plant could adapt and have a good development. The second or third day we only add water, we do not add anything else, and on the third or fourth day, depending on the structure of the plant, depending on the height of the plant, we begin to apply the nutrition, which is provided by Dr. Jorge, who is in charge of nutrition. Basically, plant nutrition is the same in general, that is, the same elements are used. And for tomatoes, what we do is first know the technical data sheet of the variety and start developing the fertilization based on that data sheet. Let's say that if it needs X parts per million of nitrogen, X parts per million of phosphorus, we must reach that so that the plant can develop and not exceed certain elements, because we can begin to present antagonisms that can alter or modify the development of the plant. After a few days, after 5 or 6, 8 or 10 days, according to the growth of the plant, we are going to put in the staking. After having finished the process of everything that is the implementation for the substrate mixture, we come here. We are already talking about the staking. It is worth mentioning that here all the material that is used, everything, from a guaya to a rail, even one of these recycled materials, I am going to show you. At this moment you can see unions, here there, are unions to be able to always optimize the material that is bought that is recycled. What guarantee does this recycled material have? The guarantee of this recycled material is that it can be used several times. For what reason? Because it will always be there. The guaya will not deteriorate under greenhouse conditions, the same with this type of recycled material. Now, after removing the tomato, which can be removed 2 to 3 times, it will be possible to plant another type of vegetable. It can be peas, beans, so we will use exactly the same staking. We can even use the same fiber if it is the case. Why do we do this? For the following reason. We avoid that the farmer, we ourselves as responsible for the environment, are cutting down, using guajuas, using bamboo, or using fibers that are much more polluting. With this we want to teach the whole region, to all the people, that it is possible to look for materials that do not cause damage to the environment. It turns out that right now the producers are damaging the forests to make new greenhouses, because the soils they have are no longer suitable for planting, because let's say that the production curve is less than half, so this is an alternative that we have to be able to plant all the time in a single space without having to damage the trees. It also helps us to save a lot of water. One of those containers can retain 60% of the humidity for about 2 days. From the economic point of view, it is also very profitable, and what we are looking for at the time of production is high yields at low cost. There is a question that the tomato at certain times has its very high production peaks. What happens in this country? We do not have programming. If there were programming here, there would be a stable price, but there are also factors that are complemented within the same products of the family basket, as is the same avocado. When there are very good harvests of avocado, there is overproduction of tomato. When the production of avocado decreases, the consumption of tomato increases. Then there are factors in which one has to be putting balance to be able to manage the price curve. Well, after having and choosing the size of the container, we fill it with the substrate with the mixture we chose, and then we put the plant. The first 3 to 4 days we irrigate it only with water, so that the plant adapts, because obviously it arrives stressed either at the nursery or the place where the plant arrives, and the change to the greenhouse atmosphere or the substrate will take a few days to adapt. After we see that the plant is already adapted, we start with a fertilization that allows us to develop roots and foliage. Then about a month and a half into the 2 months we change to the vegetative stage to develop good foliage, a good leaf size, and when we see that the first flower buds start to appear, we change to the fruit set fertilization. In the market there are many formulations so that anyone can access them if they want to develop a project like this. Well, this is the Chanto tomato. This tomato has approximately 10 to 12 weeks. This tomato we harvest more or less in this color, because it is a tomato that gives more durability in restaurants and kitchens. It is a very round tomato that gives very good cut. And this tomato, when you are about to harvest, it is forming here as a little star, and it is where it changes color. It is getting between yellowish and red, and that is where the harvest time is approaching. We choose 3 varieties, that is, like the extra, like a second, and a third one. That is how we are demanded in the market. Among these 3, many times it is for the size. As for the roundness of the tomato, because the tomato really likes is round, for the cut of the dishes gives very good presence. When it is a tomato already very rounded, it does not like it because of the cutting issue, so that it gives us good presence in the dishes. Well, a tomato with these conditions is a tomato that will last a long time. It is a tomato that will surely last 8 to 10 days to begin to decompose, and it is a tomato that will last a long time and is very popular in the market. Per bush. In the time of the period of the bush we can harvest between 5 and 6 kilos from each bush. Economically this is very good because these plants are going to give us, compared to another system of soil, of semi-roof, this is more productive, it gives us more harvest, it gives us more weight, so we are going to generate more money. This tomato has a very good filling, it has a perfect filling. It has no voids. It is in very good condition. It has a good heart, it has good pulp, it is a perfect tomato for restaurants and for the market in general. These systems allow us to have a continuous yield, because let's say that the soil is already very contaminated, either by bacteria, by excess of salts, nematodes, so we will have a very irregular production. As you can see here, the project has a complete uniformity. Not a single plant was missing in a container, while in a traditional soil cultivation we will see that the plants are some yes and some no. Some in a yield, others in a yield. Some have a higher yield, others have a lower yield, so those who want to take part in this project will have a little more work at the beginning, filling the containers, preparing the substrate, but in the short term they will see that the use of insecticides and fungicides will be less. Cultural work such as boiling will also be greatly reduced, and all this will help production or economic yield to be higher. We benefit first of all in the greater quantity of production, and secondly in the lower cost of agrochemical inputs. Another part that is very important for us is that these collaborators are no longer so mistreated by the environment. In these conditions our collaborators have a lighter work. They do not have to be in the event that the weather changes, that it is raining. They can be doing their work in the greenhouse. All these things led us to make this change and migrate to these semi-hydroponic crops or to the greenhouses. In the markets right now they are demanding clean products for the most part. Right now there are many people who are sick with terminal diseases due to so many toxic agents that are used in agriculture. The health of the people who are inside the greenhouses must also be very affected, because being exposed to everything now under these toxic agents is not very healthy. These projects help us to be more environmentally friendly. To not punish the soil with the application of insecticides or fungicides, because in the container we are not going to have, for example, the presence of cheeses, nematodes, and for these insects or for these bacteria too many correctives are applied. Correctives that go against the life that is in the soil. On this farm we are surrounded by families, healthy families, good families, families that are raising children, that are growing, that are just in that stage of formation of these creatures. The production system of this farm is very simple, very basic. Simply half of the production of this farm belongs to the collaborators. They are not our workers, they are our collaborators, and this shared production leads you to have happy people, to have people who have no problem getting up to work, to have people who are willing to do anything, with something different. We have a plant here that processes some items. While the ladies work there, their husbands are working in these waxes or in the greenhouses. The children are studying in school, and at 5 o'clock in the afternoon they return to being those happy families that you don't see in many places, not even where we live in the cities. We have just been certified in GAP as an additional exporting farm, and these people were fundamental. It was fundamental because they assimilated, accepted, and saw that this was a necessity, not only for the whole production system but also for the added value it has in the market. I think that as long as there is little equity here, as long as the farmer, the producer, is not looked at with the eyes that this is the basis of the country, here we are not going to have any of that. We are aware that going to a store to buy an empanada and a soda costs us 3,000 pesos, here to get a kilo of tomato in a market after all that process that can last 5 or 6 months, the whole process. For a person to get 1,200 pesos is very painful when a person has to pay 1,200 pesos. So, if we do not take care of that part, if we do not take care of the base of the country, which is the farmer, we are not doing absolutely nothing, and beyond that we try, invent, do anything so that the farmer does not leave the region.